The Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has come up with a new set of guidelines for cab aggregators such as Uber and Ola. Hi, I'm Al-Noor from the Economic Times, and in this video, we are going to discuss 5 changes that will affect the way you use these services. The first change is about capping commissions at 20%. The government in its new guidelines has capped the earnings of these platforms at 20% of the gross fare of each ride. How does this affect you? Well, cab aggregators used to, on average, charge 24 to 25% commissions from drivers. And with their earnings now expected to be capped, they will need to figure out different mechanisms to make up for this drop. Experts and industry insiders say this will most likely be done through an increase in aggregate fares, which means you will end up paying more for every ride. The second change has to do with limiting dynamic pricing, or surge as we all know it. The government has limited surge between 0.5 and 1.5 times of the base fare. While this will certainly mean lower fares for consumers during peak hours or when there's a shortage of cabs on the roads due to bad weather, the industry says it might not all be good news for consumers. Surge is a mechanism that helps balance supply and demand. So in a place where there's a shortage of cabs from surrounding areas can move in, lured in by the prospects of higher earnings. So with limits on surge, users might actually find it harder to get a cab. It's also important to note that Uber and Ola didn't charge a fixed commission from their drivers for every ride. In shorter trips where the total fare was lower, drivers often got a bigger cut of the fare to make it sustainable and worthwhile for them to take those trips. However, in higher ticket rides, where fares used to surge, Uber and Ola would eke out a bigger cut since there was enough money to be shared with the drivers as well. The third change has to do with ride pooling. It's going to look very different. Under the new guidelines, the government has made it mandatory for aggregators to do KYC of all customers that want to use ride pooling services. While it's still unclear how this will look, but you can expect aggregators to block riders from taking ride pools unless they've done their KYC. Another move aimed at the safety of women riders, but which could make things trickier for aggregators, is giving women customers the option to avail for pooling services only with other women passengers. However, as some people have pointed out, it's often the male driver that misbehaves with women passengers, something that continues to happen despite strict KYC checks on drivers. The fourth change is that you could probably drive for Uber and Ola now. The government, in a move to reduce traffic on roads, has created a provision for private vehicles to get attached to platforms such as Uber and Ola. However, they've restricted the number of rides such vehicles can do on platforms to 4 intra-city trips and 2 intercity trips per week. This protects the driver's interests while also giving vehicle owners an opportunity to reduce the cost of their commute to office and do their part to reduce traffic and pollution. The fifth change has to do with trip cancellations, the bane of every ride-hailing user in India. To address the issue of drivers cancelling on riders after they've accepted a trip, the government has introduced a fine of 10% or up to 100 rupees for drivers who cancel trips after accepting them. A similar charge is applicable on users who cancel trips after a driver has accepted the booking of a similar value, ensuring that neither party cancels trips in an unwarranted manner. Now, the onus of implementing these motor vehicle aggregator guidelines is up to individual states. Whether they follow these rules to the T or not needs to be seen. For more such videos, keep watching this space.